So in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that all of us Linux users, we've pretty much all went through, right? And that's getting overwhelmed with how much choice we have on Linux. Now, let me explain something. So, you have a choice in your terminals. You have a choice in your shell prompts. You have a choice in your window managers. You have a choice in your desktop environments, your web browsers. Every single thing in Linux that you do, you have a choice. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to figure out what thing that you want to tackle first. Now, some of us, we may not even ever, we may not configure, any of our programs. Some of us don't configure nothing. We just run whatever the developer has in the config file. Some of us, like myself and many others, we like to tinker. We like to rewrite that configuration file to make it our own. But whenever you go to say that you install a new Linux distribution or whatever, right? Have you ever just logged into your desktop or your window manager, whatever, and just look around and think to yourself, where do I start first? Where do I start? Because I need a terminal emulator. I need a web browser. I need a text editor. If I like to rice my desktop, then I'm going to need to do that. Which desktop or window manager should I even run? Right? Which distribution should I even run? And I feel like unless you really back up your config files, that could probably be a little overwhelming, especially if you distro hop quite a lot. That's why I encourage you guys to always back up your config files so you don't have to constantly rewrite these things whenever you distro hop and everything, just so you don't feel overwhelmed with having to start from scratch and you have a list of things that you want to get accomplished or you need to get accomplished before you feel like, your desktop's complete, so to speak, right? Now, one of the things, and the reason I'm bringing up this topic is because the other day I logged in here. I'm playing around with i3 right now, and I'm rewriting the config file. As you can see, I do have Polybar set up. And Polybar, let me talk about Polybar for a minute. It's a simple config. It really is simple. But for some reason, this thing took me almost a day and a half. Now, I say a day and a half. I wasn't working constantly on it for a day and a half, but every day for a day and a half, I tinkered around with it, right? And I remember getting to the end, or getting it to where it looks good enough for me. And I remember at the end of it, and I was like, man, now I have to, I got Polybar set. Now I got to do the same thing with i3. And then after i3, well, I can't do Vim yet because I'm doing the Nano challenge, but I could do Emacs. And Emacs is going to take me a long time to configure. But I was just like, man, like I logged in and I was like, I have a list of things that I really, really want to get, I want to get done, right? I want to get accomplished. And I remember I was just like, the list is, it's almost endless, right? And that's just software that I know that I'm going to use. Now, for some of you guys, I couldn't even imagine, logging in and being like, man, I got to configure 2 web browsers. I got to configure, two terminal emulators, three text editors, right? Like all of this stuff. And yeah, it can be a little bit overwhelming at times. And the big question I always have to myself is, it's not how overwhelming it is, it's where do I start, right? Where do I start? Like, I need a text editor pretty much to do any of my work, right? Well, right now I'm doing the Nano challenge, so I can't really use Vim or NeoVim, or I would use those. So I have Nano, okay, and I have Emacs. Well, Nano is whatever. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't look good no matter what you do. But Emacs can look great. But Emacs is going to take me a long time to configure. So it's like I can use Nano to configure, Polybar, for instance, right? Or i3. But eventually, like, I need to move on from those projects, and I need to move on to Emacs. I need to move on to, I'm going to be trying out Kitty here in a little bit as well. I think I'm going to switch away from Alacrity, so I'm going to be using Kitty. I got to configure Kitty. I can't use the defaults. And it's pretty awesome because Linux gives you that freedom of choice, that sense of, hey, if I don't like this certain software, I can go and I can pick something else. But at the same time, like, each choice that you make in these little categories of software choices, each choice, like, if you're a tinker, you have some work to do, right? So yeah, this is just a little ramble video of mine. I don't make these type of videos very often, but it was just on my mind the other day when I logged into my desktop, and I was like, I wonder if anybody else feels the same exact way that I felt the other day. You log in, you have a set idea of what you want to get accomplished, on your desktop, and then you just kind of sit back in your chair and you're just like, where do I start? So feel free to leave me down a comment down below if you guys ever feel a little overwhelmed, or if you guys ever log in sometimes and you're just like, man, I got so much work to do, I don't know where to begin. So if you guys ever felt that way, leave me a comment down below. Until next time, you guys take care, be safe, and peace. Bye, guys.